watching Washington at Work. I'm Diana Longry. Thank you for tuning in. Washington at Work is a program where we take a look at what's going on in Washington, D.C., primarily those issues concerning peace, justice, and jobs. Now today we're going to do something a little bit different. A journey of a candidate. As many of you have already heard, I'm running for U.S. Congress, and I'm seeking the DFL endorsement, and later on in this program we'll be talking a little bit about how the convention went and the outcome of that convention. But before we get to that, we want to share with you some of our preliminary preparations, because there's really a lot involved in running for an office and for seeking DFL endorsement. One of the things that I found that is very important throughout this whole process is to understand how the rules are, so that way you can go through the process. I have with me Mr. Michael Balsamo, and he has been working on a number of different campaigns in the past, and he is very interested in having good, clean politics that are for the people, so that we can work for the people, and that is so refreshing. Those of you who know me personally know it is very important, and certainly near and dear to my heart, that when working as a public servant, that you are there for the people to further the interests of the citizens that you're working with and for. The first step in this process, of course, is going to the caucuses, and we had quite a number of folks who were interested in becoming delegates through the caucus process. We had individuals who were interested in serving on various committees. As part of the campaign, it's important then to be able to have access to the names and the contact information for the delegates that you are asking to endorse you as a candidate. Michael and I, we went down to DFL headquarters a couple of different times to see how we could get access to the names of the delegates, so that we could start contacting them once the redistricting had been completed, so that we could start telling them about what our mission was, what was our philosophy, and how I might serve our district here in the 4th Congressional District and be the DFL endorsed candidate. So Michael, why don't you say hi to the folks and tell them about when we went down to the DFL headquarters, I mean, how did you feel about that?
It was a rather unnerving situation. It wasn't pleasant for me at all. I was ashamed to be a part of the DFL that day. They treated us like common trash, to put it nicely. We asked them nicely to buy the list. They said they didn't have the list. We asked them in many different ways how to get the list, and they gave us plenty of chances, or plenty of reasons on how to get the list, but they would never supply us with the list themselves.
And eventually they told us, well, you can go to the Senate district chairs and ask them if they will give you the list of the delegates for their Senate districts. And we did do that, and probably, what was it, Michael? Probably, what, about a third of them decided that yes, they would provide the list?
Yeah, about a third of them. Yeah, about a third of them said yes, and about a little more than a third of them were angry because they had to pay for their list. And so they didn't think it was right that they give the list to us for free. And we weren't aware that they paid for their list, because we were under the impression that the lists were given out for free by the DFL.
Right, and then we found out later, after then going to the DFL offices again, that maybe some of the Senate districts that maybe they had purchased their list for, well, $300. Okay, well, that sounds fine and dandy. But then one of the issues with all of that then is that, well, we said, well, we just want to have access to the delegates. So what do we need to do in order to have access to the delegates? And we were told, oh, well, you can buy the access to all of that for $5,000. Imagine that, access for $5,000.
Yeah, $5,000. That's how much they ended up charging us.
So it was a very fascinating thing. And so needless to say, my team, we are very committed to the message that we have to send, and certainly the impact, the positive impact that we can have here on our 4th Congressional District. We decided to take that commitment and to go forward and to get the list and start to contact delegates and to work within the process, because, again, working towards that endorsement. And then it came from the Rules Committee that it was decided that at the DFL endorsing convention that the candidates seeking the endorsement for U.S. House of Representatives would be given only 5 minutes to talk to the delegates, to get out their message, to be able to communicate why they should be endorsed. And it's such an important office, and to have only 5 minutes.
This election year.
Yes.
This election year.
Yes.
As the previous election years, where they're given 10 minutes, where they're given a full 10 minutes to speak. This election year, here, McCollum is challenged by another DFL member. All of a sudden, it's cut down to 5 minutes.
Well, what can we do to get out our message to the delegates? And one way is to use technology. And let's take a look at the videos that we have produced for the delegates. First, you want to introduce who the candidate is. So let's take a look at our videos for the delegates. Hi there, I'm Diana Longry. I'm running for U.S. Congress. On April 21st, I'll be asking for your DFL endorsement. At our endorsing convention on April 21st, only 5 minutes will be given to each candidate seeking your endorsement for U.S. Congress. The challenges facing our country, along with the discussion of each candidate's position on the issues, is simply greater than those 5 minutes will allow. Please consider the following when making your endorsement on April 21st. Let me tell you who I am. I came up the hard way. I lost my father at a young age. In 1969, my mother had to go to work to keep our home. Unfortunately, there were few jobs. She worked hard selling Avon and vacuum cleaners door to door. She couldn't afford health insurance. Then in 6th grade, I developed juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. Through medical assistance, I received the medical care I needed. After high school, I worked my way through college and law school. As the first woman mayor of Maplewood, I stood toe to toe with the old boys club and didn't back down. My goodness, some of those old boys reminded me a lot of the playground bullies I stood up to as a little girl. Today, I'm a neighborhood attorney fighting for the little guy. You know, President Obama needs more people fighting with him for the little guy without a job, the little guy without health care, the little guy with his back against the wall. You know, when he first took office, priority number 1 was universal single-payer health care. Everybody in, nobody out, like Medicare. Everybody in, nobody out. But his plans were hijacked. hijacked by the private health insurance lobbyists, their money, and their plan. I ask you, did Representative McCollum stand and defend the president's everybody in, nobody out single-payer health care? Has she made an affirmative statement of her position on single-payer health care? I can't find it. Can you? I support a health care model where, one, only 3 to 5% of every health care dollar goes to administrative costs, not the 25% or so that the health insurance companies siphon off the top. 2, I support a model where the patient selects their own doctor, clinic, or care facility and doesn't have to worry about staying within a service provider network. And 3, I support a model where the medical decisions are made by the doctor and the patient, not based upon some health insurance company's actuarial table or approval. When I'm in Washington, D.C. to represent our district, you can count on me to fight for everybody in, nobody out, just like Medicare. I'm Diana Longery. I'm running for U.S. Congress, and I ask for your endorsement on April 21st. Once you introduce a candidate, then what does the candidate have to say? Now, Michael, we haven't known each other that long, and I know that some of the issues that you were concerned about was indeed single-payer health care, correct?
Correct. That's one of the big issues for me, yes.
And I know that when talking to many of the delegates over the telephone, which you've done quite a bit of, that many of the delegates were concerned about that too, and they were concerned about the commitment of Representative McCollum to single-payer health care and trying to get to them the message that there is a candidate for them to select who has a commitment is very difficult.
I made thousands of phone calls, and not a single person that I talked to, not a single delegate was against single-payer health care. Not a single delegate mentioned affordable health care, as McCollum likes to talk about. They were all for single-payer health care, which is also called universal health care. That's what they're all for. They're all for that.
This is the video that we've produced for the delegates to let them know where I stand on single-payer health care. Hi there, I'm Diana Longery, and I'm running for U.S. Congress. On April 21st, I'll be asking for your DFL endorsement. Today, we are told, be happy. More people have health insurance under the Heritage Foundation model. However, you and I both know that health insurance for some is not an acceptable substitution for health care for all. As a steadfast fighter for single-payer health care, I have lobbied at our nation's capital. I have hosted public access TV programs endorsing single-payer health care, and I have spoken at press conferences alongside leaders for single-payer.
We have to step up to the plate here and have this press conference. And the people that are doing this are practitioner groups who are trying to stop the bleeding of their patients. And I can tell you that as a clinical pharmacist that most of my patients are people with disabilities and seniors. We have 5 speakers today. The first speaker today is going to be Senator John Marty, and I'd like him to speak. Thank
thank you for Joel for bringing this together. But the question is, why don't we eliminate the insurance middleman in the first place? It's so much money, and it's not improving care for people. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that it's hurting people's ability to access care and costing us more for that reason. So it's time to eliminate the middleman and deliver health care directly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Marty. Next speaker is going to be Diana Longry, who is an attorney and citizen advocate. Diana.
I'm Diana Longry, and I am a solo general practitioner. My law practice is in Maplewood. My clients mostly are folks just like you and me, seniors, families, people who don't have a lot of money. One of the things that I find interesting is I looked up some of the mission statements for some of the HMOs. And one of the HMOs, their mission statement was to improve the health of the people we serve. However, I think that in light of one of the things that we're discovering, that really it's more likely the mission statement is, as you see over here, is that their mission statement should say patients before profit. And I think their mission statement should be changed to reflect that. It's not unknown that we have severe health care disparities in our state and our nation. Whether or not, if it's disparities based on economics, on ethnic background, race, age, or your employment situation. From my point of view, this HMO experiment has failed. It has failed, and this failure actually just furthers my commitment to the fact that we need to have universal single-payer health care, not only in our state, but in our nation.
For the well-being of our people, we can no longer put off single-payer health care any longer. Everybody in, nobody out, just like Medicare. Everybody in, nobody out. I'm Diana Longry, and I ask for your endorsement for U.S. Congress. Never give up, stand your ground, and fight for what's right. Another issue that has come up during the course of talking with delegates connected with health care, but very special in particular to women, and that's women's preventative health care. And delegates were concerned that women's health care rights are being eroded, and they wanted to know about my commitment to this issue. So let's take a look at our video. Hello, I'm Diana Longry. I'm running for U.S. Congress. Thank you for your time and this opportunity. On April 21st, I'll be asking for your DFL endorsement. At our endorsing convention on April 21st, only 5 minutes will be given to each of the candidates seeking your endorsement for U.S. Congress. Well, I don't know about you, but you know, it takes me more than 5 minutes every morning just to look at my emails. I'm taking this opportunity to spend a little time with you to tell you more than just my name, but to talk about some of the issues with you. Please consider the following when making your endorsement on April 21st. Our Minnesota DFL party and Democrats nationwide have had a proud history of being champions for a woman's right of choice in family planning and contraception. However, a right means little if a person doesn't have the access to exercise that right. That's why equal access to contraception, family planning options, and preventative medical care for women is one battle we must not lose. This past January, President Obama was on the front lines fighting for women to have contraception and preventative medical care at no cost or no copay, no matter who they were, no matter where they worked, and no matter how much money they made. But not all Democrats had his back. Not all Democrats stood behind the president and the strong, bold position he took for women. Let's take a look at one such Democrat and her position. As you listen in on this town hall meeting, do you feel as dismayed and betrayed as I do?
Yes, my question is for Betty McCollum. Do you support the Catholic Church or President Obama in his forced mandate for forced coverage for abortifacients, sterilization, and contraception?
I support, right over here at the cathedral, the money that goes into the collection plate for the direct employees of that beautiful church, my church, that they be exempted. And I supported that, and I wrote a letter to the president stating that. And that wasn't a popular position with some of my colleagues. But what is gathered at the collection plate, what goes towards direct service employees, I believe that the church should have control over that health care. And as I said, that wasn't popular with a lot of my employees, my colleagues.
Need I say more? President Obama needs more elected representatives fighting with him on women's health issues. When you send me to Washington, D.C. to represent our district, you can count on me to defend the right of all women and their access to contraception, choice in family planning, and preventative health care. It's only right. I'm Diana Longry, and I'm asking for your endorsement for U.S. Congress. Remember, never give up, stand your ground, and fight for what's right. Thank you. There you go, Michael. That pretty much sums up what Miss McCollum's position is. You've got film footage right from one of her own town hall meetings.
Right. How about what happened today?
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about today.
Yes, let's talk about today.
Let's talk about how they all only had 5 minutes. Everybody had 5 minutes on the podium. But we'll talk about Amy Klobuchar, who started us off with 14 and a half minutes, who gave 9.5 minutes to her own speech, and then dedicated 5 of the minutes to praising Betty McCollum. And then another thing, McCollum gave no speech, but she still managed to take up 7 minutes of time with having people speak on her behalf about what a good person she is. And she gave no speech at all. She had nothing to say for herself. She just had people after person come up and say what a good deal and what a great person she is.
Well, you know, there comes a point in time where the elected politician has to be able to speak for themselves, to be able to say what they stand for, who they are, what they're going to do, not just what they did yesterday, but what they're going to do tomorrow, and what are their solutions that they have in mind.
I want to bring you back to the beginning, to the beginning of the whole function. Remember, I had to get the sheets signed so you could speak. We had McCollum's. I don't know if he worked for her directly, but me and your husband witnessed him talking to McCollum's manager. He was going between me and people that were signing the sheet and trying to downgrade the people and stop the people. This guy, he has a very red face, and he was trying to downgrade the people and stop the people from signing the sheets as they were signing the sheet.
What Michael's talking about is another one of the rules that was created, was that in order to be able to speak, to seek the endorsement, a person had to be nominated from the floor, which of course is normal, but then the second step is that then they had to produce 25 written, signed seconds to that nomination. And of course you had to get all those written, signed seconds to the nomination well in advance during the beginning part of the convention, because there wouldn't have been time otherwise. And so I think
we got 30. We got 30.
Yes.
We had to make sure we got the right number. We didn't want them pulling any fast ones on us at the end. So we made sure to get enough.
And the point that you're making, Michael, is that here we are trying to do a valiant effort to
do it legally,
work within the rules, and yet there they are trying to put
stomp on
impediments
us
in the way.
at every chance they get. Because I was the first one to put a question in the question box when yourself and Miss McCollum was on the podium. I put in the question, do you believe in single-payer health care? I was the first one to put the question in the box, and they would not ask my question, because while they were asking the questions, I walked up to the man and I asked the man, why isn't my question being asked? I was the first one to put the question in the box, and the guy said, oh, here it is, it's next. Oh, we're out of time, I'm sorry, kid, I'm sorry. And that's how he brushed me off, and that was it, and that's how he brushed me off.
It was a very enlightening convention. We had a great time. We're moving forward, and so we have produced a video for the voters to let them know, to mark their calendar for August 14th, 2012, that they will have a choice of candidates on the DFL ballot, and that they will have the summer to compare the positions of Ms. McCollum and myself. So with that, I want to thank you, Michael, for coming on the program. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And thank you for watching this episode of Washington at Work. Hi, I'm Diana Longry. I'm running for U.S. Congress. On August 14th, I'll be asking for your vote on the DFL ballot. I support a health care model where, one, only 3 to 5% of every health care dollar goes to administrative costs, not the 25% or so that the health insurance companies siphon off the top. 2, I support a model where the patient selects their own doctor, clinic, or care facility and doesn't have to worry about staying within a service provider network. And 3, I support a model where the medical decisions are made by the doctor and the patient, not based upon some health insurance company's actuarial table or approval. When I'm in Washington, D.C. to represent our district, you can count on me to fight for everybody in, nobody out, just like Medicare. I'm Diana Longry, and I ask for your support for U.S. Congress. Never give up, stand your ground, fight for what's right. Vote Diana Longry on Tuesday, August 14th. Thank you.